Wiatr kołysze w locie ćmy.
Hi and welcome back in another episode of painting the Witcher Old World, this time the vampire Ekimma. It's a pretty nice mini, so it's very nice model to paint it. As you can see on the reference card, it's kind of like a reddish hands with the pale skin color, skin tone, and a bit of a white fur. Very nice graphic on the reference card, and we'll try to match those colors on the mini itself. So the model was primed with the grey primer from Citadel all over the place, and then from the top, from above, I just add a little bit of white. The model is pretty cool. You can see that horse head underneath. However, it's extremely hard to reach some of those areas, so I wouldn't recommend that for the first model because of the fact that, you know, it's very hard to reach let's say the legs or that horse head. However, it's very nice model to paint. So let's begin. I have started with pre-shading it and have Nuln Oil, the black shading paint from Citadel, painted all over the model. However, I used the cotton stick to remove the excess paints here and there, especially on those very bright exposed areas, or the fur itself, which we want to achieve white. But this mini will be painting in reverse order, so we're gonna start from pre-washing it and then we'll put in some basic colors. However, we're not gonna be brightening up the model. We're gonna start from very bright and then we're gonna be darken with the darkened colors here and there. So as you can see now, we're painting the whole lot with the Nuln Oil. And again, once that start getting dry, I remove a bit of, you know, from those flat surfaces, those exposed areas. I don't want to have too much of that black. However, in the shades and recesses, it's very nice to have it a nice black tone. So as you can see, this is a pre-shaded mini, and we're gonna start painting it. So my first color is the Cadian Fleshtone, and we're gonna paint the skin of our monster. And again, I use very watery, so I don't want that paint go too hard. I want that those pre-shading will go through, so, you know, put few very thin coats of that skin Cadian Fleshtone all over the model, obviously except the fur and the base that she's standing on. Now, so this is our first coats. Then because we want to have a bit more paint of those exposed areas, I decided to do a bit of a dry brushing, so I'm gonna dry brush all over the skin, so we keep the recesses darker. And as you can see now, I do a bit of a dry brushing on the head and those ears, which if you go with the standard brush, you know, you're risking that you know, you're gonna paint over those recesses. The next step will be adding a bit of a Kislev Flesh, which is the brighter tone of the skin. As I said initially, we want that vampire to have a pale skin tone, as the vampires have. So for our next step, we do a bit of a dry brushing with the mixture of those two colors, and finally we're doing a dry brushing with the the Kislev Flesh itself. And then we'll be mixing a bit of the Screaming Skull into it, just to have the kind of the brightest tone. And again, the brightest color, I'll use the brush very gently, so we're not gonna go too deeply into it. And we're just gonna catch the most exposed areas, and our final highlight of that skin will be the pure Screaming Skull. Once that's done and you're happy with the with this part, we're gonna switch to the brown, which is the Mournfang Brown from Citadel, and we're gonna paint the horse head, the skin and the horse head. Again, you know, remember, you know, of the nose to leave it off color, which is kind of already kind of a grayish. And then we're gonna mix the Eshin Grey with the Abaddon Black, pretty much 50-50, and we're gonna paint the hair on the horse head. Again, it's very hard to reach areas, so be careful. Take the paint only on the top of your brush, and try to avoid, you know, painting on the skin. Now the rocks, the couple of rocks on the base, I painted initially with the pure Eshin Grey, and as well as you can see the nose of the horse with very watery gray paint. I have also added a little bit of that grey tone in around the eyes. Want that kind of deep shadow effect. So a little bit grey will be handy. And then the place when the horse was beheaded, so that there is a bit of a muscle coming through, we painted with the Bugman's Glow. We can use also this color tone to paint the tongue and the mouth of the monster. There is a one wee bone on the base, so again we're gonna paint it with the Screaming Skull, and then we're switching over to the Still Legion Drab, and we painting over the remaining parts of the base. Now I'm mixing a bit of a skin tone with the Screaming Soul, the ivory color, and we're gonna paint the wee spine bone that is visible on that cut part of the horse head. And then with the pure Screaming Skull, we're gonna put a wee white stripe on the horse head. Now we're gonna do a bit of a washing, so the color we're using for that is the Reikland Fleshshade, and we're gonna put all over the horse head and the base itself as well. once that's done, a bit of a red tone from the army painter just to cut those muscle, and once that's done, we get in a white Corax White from Citadel, and we're gonna do a bit of dry brushing on the fur. Once you dry off your brush on the piece of towel, as you probably do it already, I always trying to on my own skin just to see how much paint it's left on the brush. But you can use any type of surface, you know, a texture surface to estimate that. Our next part, we're gonna do a bit of a highlighting. As I said earlier on, we will be going from bright to dark. So as you see in the reference card, the picture under that picture, that the hands were pretty red, and it's the red color. It's darker on the fingers than, you know, on the arm. So initially gonna start with the Wild Rider red, again very watery. We don't want that paint to be too thick to cover it, and we're gonna paint both hands and the legs as well. I have also used a bit of a watery skin tone just to make the transition between those two colors nice and smooth. So just paint over whatever the red tone is ended. I have also painted the ears and that forehead with a bit of a mixture of the skin tone and the red, as you can see now. Again, you know, make sure you not get the paint too thick. We don't want that ears to be completely covered. We want those recesses to remain darker. Now, next red tone, the evil Scarlet, which is a bit more richer in pigment. So again, we do both hands and legs. However, we cover a wee bit smaller area than previously. We want that color to be graduated from very dark at the top of the fingers to brightest at the elbow side. We repeating the same process again with the ears and the forehead. Our next color is the Mephiston Red, which is very kind of rich red tone, but it's not the darkest one we're gonna use. We're gonna mix a little bit of the Rhinox Hide at the final stage, the final part of that mini. As you can see, we cover less and less every consecutive layer that we're gonna add it on with the darker color. Again, if you see, there's some transitions needed here and there. If you using the wet palette, it's always easy to get back to the previous tone and do it that way. As you can see now, I'm just adding a tiny bit on the fingers mainly and the top of the foot, the mixture of the Rhinox Hide and the Mephiston Red, and then the edges of the ears and a tiny bit here and there of that cut head. Now we're gonna switch to a purple, so we're gonna mix a little bit the Naggaroth Night with our skin tone, and then we do both sides of the chest and the belly, both sides of the fur, I mean. So we do again from very bright purple, and we're gonna add a little bit more, and we do in a couple of stages. Beside the fur we're gonna have a nice kind of purpley tone, which is kind of blended well with the skin going towards the back. Now next step, we're getting back to our brown color. So initially Mournfang Brown, we're gonna add a little bit of the very thin layer to the face of the monster, just to break down a little bit of that reddish color here and there. And once that's done, we're gonna move over to the horse head, and we're gonna do the highlights there. So initially with the pure Mournfang Brown, and then the next layer we will be adding a bit lighter brown color, which is the Skrag Brown in our case. So we're gonna mix those two together and apply the highlights here and there. Once you're happy with that, we're gonna do the further highlighting by adding a bit of the ivory to the brown, which is in our case the Screaming Skull, and we're gonna do a kind of a contrast, couple contrast lines on that horse head, especially on the exposed muscles or the bones, but just to blend them further with the rest of the model. I decided to use a wee bit of the pure Skrag Brown with a very watery, and paint it all over the head, just to have a nice transition between those tones. Next we're gonna do the further highlights of the base. So initially the bone, add a little bit of that Screaming Skull, and then we're gonna be mixing a bit of the grey and the white, the Eshin Grey and the Corax White, just to bring up those couple of stones with a bit of a brighter tone, so a little bit of a dry brushing on those. And once you're happy with it, we do a bit of a dry brushing on the base itself. So start again from the Steel Legion drop, and then we're gonna switch over to the brighter tone, which is the Zandri Dust. And once that's done, again I do a bit of a dry brushing on those horse hair, so I use tiny bit of white with the Eshin Grey. Again, it's this part of the model is very hard to reach, so be careful while you're doing it, and then once you reach this area, the effect should be quite okay. I think I did go too bright, so I put a little bit of the Nuln Oil again on it, just to go into those recesses of that hair. Our next part will be adding the white into the eye sockets. So just the tip of your brush. Remember to add to get the right consistency, otherwise the paint won't transfer from the brush into the model. So add right amount of water. Yeah, so this is how our model looks so far, and once that's done, I decided to put some ice pupils, which was kind of like two horizontal lines across the eye socket. The rim itself, like for all my models, is the pure German grey, just 2 layers to keep it safe once you will be putting out of the box. And then a tiny bit of white on that bone, just to highlight it, and a couple of green stuff on the base itself, just to have a bit of more kind of rocky filled somewhere in Vallejo. And our final part will be adding the blood. Again, I know it's a horse head that was cut off from the rest of the horse, but I don't want to put too much blood on it. I think the blood itself was gone already through it, so just a bit, but don't put it too much. I put it a little wee bit on the nose of the horse, and as well on the hands of our Ekimma, but please don't go too far. I think it's a little less is more in this case. Now, so Ekimma is ready. I think I matched a bit the one from the reference card picture. I hope you like it. I did like painting this miniature. Obviously it was quite difficult because it was hard to reach, but I was quite happy with the effect. So I hope you are too. If so, please give the thumb up, and if you haven't, so please subscribe my channel. It's definitely a motivation to go forward. So once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.